Hello.
Hi,
How are you, Zuma?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
You can hear me properly?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So we'll start with the interview soon, but I also wanted to tell you that we'll record this as well, and then we'll post it in our group as well in case.
Yes, that would be good. That would be good.
Okay. So I guess we'll start. Hello everyone, and welcome to this special interview. I am one of the admins of ESPN Book Club. My name is Juma Khan. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Alisha Naqvi, the author and poet of books like The Agony and Dusk of the Agony. Ali, welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I know you have your exams going on right now. I really
Yes,
appreciate it.
they're commencing from Monday actually.
Okay, what are you majoring in, by the way?
I'm doing psychology. I'm becoming a psychologist.
Okay, that makes sense.
You're not the first person to say that.
I finished reading your book today, and I have to say, I think it's highly underrated, and it's a must read for anyone who has ever loved and anyone who has ever experienced the beauty and pain of love.
Thank you so much.
For any one of you watching who hasn't read Dusk of the Agony, it's a collection of poignant and introspective poems that um, explores the complexities of love and the emotional toll it can take on a person. It's divided into four chapters. It covers a range of themes from yearning for love to the fear of being hurt, to the transformative power of love and the bittersweet memories that lingers long after a relationship has ended. So I guess my first question to you is, who hurt you?
Um, okay. Actually, it's all about how I feel certain emotions and certain things. It's not that I was hurt by somebody specifically, but there were some things you can say that were going on, not alone with me, but around me, and I was seeing other people going through things and experiencing them, noticing them, and going through those things with them actually. So it's just
Okay, so
that I can understand. I can understand what someone is going through and can turn them into poetry as well. Actually, one thing, I started poetry in quarantine. So, you know what was happening in quarantine. Everyone was so depressed, everyone was so anxious. The mental illness were on the rise. So, it was just a way for me to explain what other people cannot say for themselves.
okay, so your poems weren't exactly um, personal, but like a collection. It was about
They had,
the people around you as
they
well.
had, yeah, they had my reflection in some way. They had me. I was mirroring them, but it was not exactly on.
Okay, so
It is
what
sort of some
inspired you to write poetry?
what inspired me to.
What inspired you to write poetry, and when did you start writing?
I started back in May 2020 in quarantine. I first started off with posting on Instagram, and they were very mediocre poetry, like the internet poets. So I started off like that, and soon I had a friend, Asad. I think he's over here as well. Big props to that guy,
Yeah.
supported me throughout. He said, "Dude, I love your poems. You should make a book and publish it as well." And I said, "Yeah, sure, we'll work on that." So I started working on a book, and then from May 2020 till 2020 and till February 2021, actually, I was writing the agony. It only has 30
Okay.
poems though. I was not so creative, I was not so productive, but still I managed to get 32 poems in that book. So I started off with the agony, and as soon as we completed the agony, I was hit by one thing that maybe we should continue with this. And I had a storyline in my mind as well. So I thought that maybe I should turn this into some sort of story. So when you read the agony and dusk of the agony together, it seems like a series. because the start of the agony, it goes from very dark, very depressing, very miserable poems, and when you finish the dusk of the agony, they are very beautiful, very loving, and very charming poems as well. So you can feel the transition from a very depressing the things that teenagers feel, a very depressing one, and then to a loving one. So that's what the whole thing has been up till now.
When I started reading Dusk of the Agony, I didn't know about the agony, but after I found out, I realized that Dusk of the Agony is kind of like the sequel of your first book.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what was your creative process like when writing Dusk of the Agony? Did you have a specific routine or approach to writing your poems?
It might sound funny to you, but most of the poems I wrote half asleep in my bed.
No, it doesn't sound too weird. It wasn't too different from Edgar Allan Poe, I would say.
Yeah, and some of the poems I wrote in park. I used to visit this park. I have on my in my the place where I live. I wrote some of them there. Some of them were written in my diary when I was actually writing. When I was actually writing, and the most intense ones, the most dramatic ones, the most graphic ones, I wrote while at the comfort of my bed.
So your form of poetry is very Western. I'm curious if growing up in Pakistan has had any impact on your writing and your perspective as a poet.
I have watched a lot of movies actually for that. So yeah, I have some Russian bit in me. Asad has told me a lot that you have that European, that Western touch in you as well. So yes, being in Pakistan, I have written some things in Urdu as well, to keep my relatives happy that I am writing in Urdu as well. I'm taking my culture ahead, and I wrote in English more because I had a better grip on English, you can say, and the education, our schools, high schools, and my teachers they have been focusing on English much more than they have been on Urdu. I think being in Pakistan, that's a bit off that they were not focused. It is not that they do not focus on Urdu. They do focus on Urdu as much as English, but I think it was a bit personal that I chose English to express myself much.
I'm glad you did. Um, I also wanted to ask you, you have a very strong presence on Instagram. You share your poems there and your thoughts. How has
Yes.
social media impacted your career as an author?
Social media, oh, the people, my online friends, they have been very helpful and very supportive actually. I have made very, very close friends on Instagram while posting my poems. And the people in my DMs, they always say, "Man, I love your poems. Keep writing, keep writing. I love your poems. I find my reflection in them, and you're talking about great things." So yeah, they have been very supportive to me, and I have not said a thing that they won't agree on as well. So yeah, that's one thing as well.
Yeah, I still remember the day when your followers swarmed our comment section recommending Dusk of the Agony as our book of the month.
They
Okay,
were my
you are a
friends.
very well. You're a very young author and you still go to university. How
Yes.
do you balance your
Yes.
creative pursuits with your academic studies?
I don't force my creativity. I don't force poetry on myself. So I write when I have to write, and when I have a certain thought that needs to be written as well. So most of the time, I focus on academics, which I do not as much. I should study more. I have my exams coming on, and I'm just scrolling Instagram. Anyways, I don't force my creative side much. And yes, I just write when I have a thought. It's just that.
Um, what do you hope your readers take away from Dusk of the Agony, and how do you hope your work will impact your readers?
I think it will hit them emotionally. I do think it will hit them.
It does. It does. I can confirm.
Of course, you're a witness.
Okay, so the poems in the book, well, they felt very personal to me when I was reading them. Was it difficult for you to share such vulnerable emotions with your readers, and what inspired you to write about them in the first place?
What inspired? Actually, I think it's all imagination. It's all metaphors, and the support actually. It's all actually very supportive friends I have. They've always been like once. I used to post these poems first on Instagram, and I used to archive them. So the outcome of them, I used to think that yeah, this must be placed in a book. This deserves to be put in a book. The poems that I was posting on Instagram, and they were very intense. They were very intense for me to write, for people to read, and to comprehend. I get compliments like I posted that one as well. Like, do you want your readers to bleed tears? And I was like, yes, they should. I don't know. So yeah, that's one point.
The first chapter of your book, which is titled For We Are Lost, contains
For real.
many metaphors and imagery.
Yes.
Can you explain the significance of the lavenders and trees growing over cemeteries?
Oh, lavenders and trees growing over cemeteries. Uh, Wait, actually, tell me the poem in which it has. Tell me the page number.
I
Oh,
think it's
I
like
have.
around.
It's 11th. It's 11th. Let us grow some lavenders and some trees over cemeteries. I think what I wrote about this over here, it has many layers. Whatever I wrote, it has many layers. You have to like each person. They are on their own finding out what the meaning is. I just felt very, you know, I don't know how to explain this, but uh, lavenders they are very beautiful flowers, and trees they represent life, cemeteries they represent death, and I think that if you can grow something beautiful on something dead, then uh, how should I explain this? If you like, if you see a rainbow over a dead forest, you would see the rainbow first, right?
Yeah.
And it will enhance the beauty of that certain place, and you would hope that if there's a rainbow over here, the ground, the place, the trees, they will grow again as well. So yeah, that's what the partial reason is. I cannot get into the depth of it right now.
That's fine. The theme of I just have to say that I when I was reading that and when I read lavenders and let us sow lavenders and trees over cemeteries, it like struck me. I had to ask you about that because it was so beautiful.
The lavenders, I
Uh,
don't know, I just love lavenders. They are like my favorite flower. I don't know.
yeah. The theme of loneliness and the desire for love is prevalent throughout the third chapter. Can you
Yes.
talk about a time in your life when you felt lonely and how you coped with those feelings?
When I was writing this, I wrote Dusk of the Agony from 2021 February till when it was published. I was writing poems till May until the day we decided to compile them all. So it was on and off. The poems were shuffled. Asad actually compiled them and put them in the chapters. I don't know when I wrote them. I cannot remember. They would be in my notes. I was just writing about loneliness because that's just how this generation, the Gen Z and the millennials as well, they feel these days. The loneliness, the anxiety, the social anxiety, the introverts, they have this certain feeling of loneliness among them. They are always ranting about it that I feel lonely, even though they have so many loving, so many good people, charming people around them, but they still feel lonely, and I don't know why. So I was just portraying that part. Okay, yes, you feel lonely even when you are with people, or even when you're not. So yeah, that was one. And the other thing is that loneliness and actually being alone, they both are different. Being alone and being lonely. You can also feel lonely while being in the group of people, while being in the gathering, while being in a social setting, and you can be alone, like actually alone. And when you're actually alone, that can be differentiated into solitude, which is healthy for you, or like the actually alone. And when you're actually alone, the devil's in your head as well. And when the devil is in your head, you are thinking very shit things.
Yeah. But
And when you are
I
thinking about things, you go into the hell of it. You go into the depths of hell. And you think about depression, you think about anxiety, you think about I don't know what things, so many dark, deep things. You're thinking about Grim Reaper if he will knock on the door and you'll just go away. You're fantasizing, you're romanticizing death as well. So that's how a lonely person feels.
I have to ask you this question because I find it very important. What next for you as a writer? And can we
Right?
expect more poetry or some other writing from you in the future?
Currently, I'm just posting on Instagram because my university schedule it's very very tough, and I don't have time to actually focus on one project. I posted on Instagram as well that I might or might not be working on a story. I was actually I worked on a I was working on making a plot that I would be converting these two books, The Agony and Dusk of the Agony, since they are actually a storyline and they are sequel and prequel of each other. So I was thinking of about turning them into a conversation of between two people. Because if you read the poems and you have read them, you would feel like that as if I am actually talking to someone.
Yeah.
So yes, I was thinking about turning them into an actual conversation, making them into dialogues, the poetic dialogues which people are always fantasizing and romanticizing about. So yeah, I think it would be great if I would do that. But still, I don't have enough time. I have my vacations coming up after a month or two, so I would work in that time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What advice would you give to new writers who are just starting out?
I'm so young to give advice, actually. But I
What
would
was
suggest
the experience of them?
just keep writing. Actually, what you have in your mind, what you cannot say, just write it down. It will open doors. It will open doors.
Well, Ali, uh, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Before we end this interview, would you like to read us a couple of your poems?
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, I would. I would read this one intent that I posted on Instagram as well, but I thought I would read it in this. So if you're
Okay.
looking for the conclusion of Agony and Dusk of the Agony, it's this poem, the conclusion, the total conclusion. Got on this road again, made of bones and skulls, blood spilled on the edges, running down the drains at gutters, as if it is our love that I left with you. I'm coming to you. Don't kill it just now. Let me be there as well, and stab me too. And the same spots where the desires, the words, and the wishes reside. Now that I'm standing in front of you, you don't move a single muscle, yet you pierce through flesh and soul. What is this sorcery? Let me be or let me go. You call me, then spare me, then call again. Just to stand still? Your blood freezes, and mine spills through nosebleeds and pens, on roads and pages. Not that I like writing about blood and bones, skins and souls. It is the way you extract them, sliding your hands so smooth. It feels like a cool breeze piercing. No matter how insane things you do, I turn it into poetry. Like I wrote, I don't like it, but I love you. So that was one.
Thank you so much. Have you ever thought about doing slam poetry? Because I feel like you'd be great at it.
At what poetry?
Slam poetry.
No, I will think about that if you're suggesting it.
Well, Ali, I wish you and your book all the best. I can't wait
Thank
to
you.
see your name in billboards. Um, thank you so much again
We will.
for joining us. Who would have thought an Indian and a Pakistani could get along
Yeah,
so well? Thank God.
I was talking about this with my mother as well that you are an Indian and you would be interviewing me, and I felt so happy that yes, we are actually uniting even on Instagram. So yes, it was a good thing. It's a good thing.
That's the power of yes time out. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.